Well, hello everyone, and thank you for tuning into the channel. The GoPro 8 has just been announced and the specs are out there, and I, like most people, I just couldn't wait. You know, it's a big part of my channel content, and having the right gear to provide the best possible content is exactly what we all strive for. But didn't you feel a little bit disappointed? I certainly did, and if you stay tuned, you'll find out the reasons why. So why did I feel disappointed? Well, I've got two of these, one I'm filming with right now and one in my hand, and I use these for different sort of angles for my mountain biking stuff, and they produce some of the best content that I have put on YouTube to date, and that's due to things such as Hypersmooth, which for me was personally revolutionary in the way that I capture my footage. It was just absolutely insane because I didn't want to go out there with wearable gimbals and the rest of the bits and pieces that meant I had to carry more, spend more, just to get some decent footage. So absolute thumbs up for what you've done there. That is just an incredible thing that will continue to improve as time goes on. And like many, I was one of the absolute thousands that tuned into the GoPro live announcement on YouTube, and the trailer played. I was just like, wow, a bit of an anticlimax for what came up, and a lot of people thought the same with the comments that were going in the box. Now, there was a lot of stuff that had already been leaked previously, and I don't always take that for what it is because, you know, it's leaked information. It's not always going to be credible information. So it turned out that it was actually pretty accurate, and most of the information that was out there was actually part of the finalized model. So what do you get with the new GoPro 8? Well, they've changed the design of it slightly so it's a little bit bigger, and one of the noticeable features that it doesn't come with the sort of outer case. Now, what I find striking is just how many people found that case a nuisance now that the new one doesn't come with one. I actually find it a little bit irritating because I never heard anybody sort of complaining about it before, that it was a bit of a pain putting it in and out, and you know, that they'd forget to take it on trips with them. Now that the GoPro doesn't provide one, all of a sudden it's like, wow. Now, I like that case on the GoPro 7, and here's my reason why. Because it's an action camera, so I use it for exactly what it was designed for, and without that case, the amount of times I've come off my bike, which I hate to say, but it happens, the case has actually protected the camera numerous times, and that's exactly what it was kind of designed for, really, to be protected and housed in something that just makes it more durable when you're doing your activity that you bought it for in the first place. And now that that's been removed, I just know that if I was to land on the new one, as durable as they might say it is, it's very likely to get scratched up or damaged or even broke on one fall, and I just don't think that was a good move. The second noticeable feature on the GoPro 8 is the non-removable lens. It's almost like, why do you do things like that? I like that I can remove this one, because there's been several times where on previous generations of camera I've scratched it quite heavily and I've needed to replace it. And when that's happened, I just go on the internet, source another one, spend a little bit of money, a fraction of the price of a new one at least anyway, and you can replace it, and it's nice and easy. Now, I don't worry about ND filters and stuff like that, but there are already images out there of people that have designed ND filters that will fit this. So I don't think that's an issue. So if the new one does get damaged, I'd imagine that you'll probably want to protect it, which will cost you a little bit more money, because you're going to have to take out some kind of damage scheme where you can insure the product so that if it does get damaged, it can be replaced. I know that GoPro offer that, but again, that's costing you more money to sign up for that, and I'm just not really in a position when I'm spending £400 on one already to want to do that. So another noticeable feature on the GoPro 8 in comparison to the 7 is that you have everything in one position. So the battery, the charging, the SD card all goes into a slot on the side, so it's all exposed in one area. But what I liked about the GoPro 7 is that you had the battery and SD card slot in one area, and then the charging port and HDMI, mini HDMI in the other area, and that has now been removed. And what I'm talking about is the HDMI, so that's going to annoy quite a few consumers out there that probably rely on stuff like that on the more professional side. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. I've never used it, but I like the fact that there's two separate areas for that, and it just leaves you slightly more vulnerable now that it's all in one area. Things that remain the same are the touch screen, a lot of the options. Now, differences are you now have higher frame rates in certain resolutions, and also the Hypersmooth is supported in every frame rate, which is fantastic. So there's a plus over the GoPro 7, but it's not enough of a plus for me to even consider going out buying the 8 at this time. I really like the fact that the GoPro 8 has the presets, because it can be slightly frustrating when you have to go into it for the activity that you're doing and adjust it accordingly, but it only takes seconds really, but just to have that one sort of press of a finger just makes it so much easier for the user. So that's a good experience, I'm sure, for the GoPro 8, and something that is much welcomed as the generations move on. What is also noticeable, because there is no cage, you now have at the bottom of the camera the already inbuilt mount. It's made out of metal by the sounds of things, and if you were to break it, it's replaceable as well, which is great. So at least you know you've got the option there, and hopefully you're not going to damage your camera too badly. I would say that that does come in handy, because it just, with the cage, while it offers the protection, in certain positions where I'm mounting it for my mountain bike edits, it can be a little bit annoying that the mount will hang a little bit lower than perhaps I want it, so I have to look at alternative methods. So that is a good option. Now, the other features that are the standout features for this one are the fact that it comes with Hypersmooth 2.0, it comes with time-lapse 2.0, and live streaming at 1080p, along with a couple of other features. Now, I'm not massively bothered about the other things because I don't live stream. I love the Hypersmooth. I very rarely use time-lapse, and some of the other stuff is what I'd call like a minor upgrade, really, not something that's going to make me think I need to go to the shop or pre-order this device, but for some people it might be absolutely beneficial. But I'll come on to this in a second. And of course, how could we forget one of the standout features that have been designed for the 2019 roundup of GoPro 8 is the mods, which I must say I think are absolutely hideous. Aimed at the vlogger, you're going to spend £380, whatever that equates to in dollars, on just the camera itself, and then you've got to go out and purchase all this stuff which isn't available until December for those that even want that. But you get the mount, which comes armed with a shotgun mic for those that like to vlog. You then get the LED light system, and these are powered on batteries. And all the details, I'll link them down below in the description to have a look. And then you get a flip up screen, which just all looks wrong. And if I'm honest, I probably prefer the DJI Osmo Action with the front facing screen and stuff like that. But like many other videos, if you point this thing in the general direction of your face, you're going to get that in no matter what view you've got it set at. So having that screen, it just looks hideous. I think there's better options out there if you want to go and vlog, and this is supposed to be an action camera. Hence what they did at the beginning, they said this is action. But yeah, it seems to be more about vlogging to me. Maybe that's just me, I'm not too sure. Throw your comments in down below, let me know about that. And to kind of make it a bit more disappointing, they're not even available till December anyway. So if somebody wanted those, not only have you got to go and wait when the GoPro already launches in a week or so, you're gonna have to go and save a bit more money, because of course those additional extras aren't cheap either. And like I say, there's just better alternatives out there. But if that's what they've kind of tried to promote it about this year, then that's what GoPro's intentions are. I just felt a little bit let down by that, to be honest. There is also a new GoPro 8 battery, although further tests are required. But I was watching a channel called DC Rainmaker, and apart from a little warning that you get up on the screen saying about that some features might not function the same with the standard battery in, it doesn't really seem to have much benefit to me. But that requires more testing, and the reason I say that is because I've got 5 batteries from this previous generations. It's good to know that you can still fit them in and get full functionality, and by the sounds of things it doesn't actually change anything, so it remains to be seen. But it's like another battery when potentially we don't need one. But I think overall, just watching all the reviews and reading people's comments, here's the most disappointing thing. Now, take away from it what you want. For some people this can be really exciting, they wanted that vlogging camera, whatever, but I use it as an action camera, and I wanted things like low light to be more usable. Now, I made a video about this, and I'll link it up in the description how I sort of get the best from that. But I think there was a bit of misinterpretation or what I was trying to say. Now, it wasn't the fact that it was low light in the woods, it was the Hypersmooth function with low light gave you a very, very noisy and almost unusable image a lot of the time. Now, 3 updates have come out since the release of the 7, and the first one made a significant change, the second one improved, and the third one did minor things here and there. Nothing to the sort of Hypersmooth stabilization as such, but since release to where we are now, a year later, it has improved and is much more usable, which is fantastic. So I would have liked to have seen the trend of making that even more usable, especially as most people will buy this for action sort of sports, really. So I was a bit disappointed to see that no work had been done there, and that's quite a key feature for a lot of people that might use this. It was certainly a massive complaining point when it was released, which is why I made a video of how to sort of adjust it and get the best from it, which has been quite useful. So here's something that is food for thought really. Now the GP1 chipset is the same one in the 7 as it is in the 8. So we see all these additional new features like the Hypersmooth and the time-lapse 2.0 and some other stuff. Why don't we see that in the 7 if it's the same GPU 1 chipset? Now that is confusing. Now when I was reading, is it just down to a firmware update? Because I'm actually starting to think that it probably is. So while they've redesigned and made the lens non-removable and mounted things in different positions and that you can now preset it, I'm pretty sure that with a decent firmware update, bearing in mind spent £380 on this on release times 2, I must say, you could probably add those features to this camera, which would then mean I wouldn't have to go out and buy an 8. But truth be told, I think the consumer market is just under pressure with things all the time. You know, it's a year ago has flown past since I purchased 2 of these, and it must be said that the expectation of what I think people wanted to see in the GoPro 8 just didn't really happen. For some people they might be massively excited, for a lot they feel quite let down, and it's clear to see by the comments. And the only way around that really is to really let people enjoy the product that they've purchased and refine that and get that right. You know, I think if there was a 2-year turnaround on products sometimes, it would just mean the next generation of GoPro that was to hit the market would be revolutionary. You know, because we're under so much pressure to want to buy and produce the best stuff, the companies are under the same sort of strain, and they churn out stuff that doesn't really make a difference from what you bought last time. But before you know it, this will be an obsolete product, it will be discontinued, no firmware updates will exist, and then you get forced into buying a new one. Whereas the GoPro 7 probably for a lot of people is the camera that they'll stay with, because there's really no need to upgrade to the new one. So I'm going to finish this video. It just sounds like I'm moaning, and if I'm honest, I probably am, because I was so excited about what the 8 could hold, and I just felt massively let down. And it's just because of that pressure that gets applied to release something when perhaps it just wasn't ready. Get the 7 right first, and then introduce you know, the next generation of product that people will be like, wow, that has really been a game changer for me. But there's nothing on this 8 whatsoever that makes me think I need to get it. So I'm going to stick with the 2 7s, wait another year, and then see what's offered next year. If you like what you've seen, give it a thumbs up. I'd love to hear what you've got to say about it, so throw your comments in down below. And of course, if you would subscribe, that would be brilliant. Down there's the logo. Come back for more content, and I will see you next time.